Rainfall hissed against the dense alien canopy, every droplet glimmering faintly as if the forest itself breathed light. Private Aaron Holt stumbled through the undergrowth, clutching his fractured side, lungs burning from the cold, metallic air. The planet, designation EOS 9, had seemed lifeless when the dropship landed. Now, its silence pulsed with menace. He could still hear the echo of the other screams, snatched mid-breath, dissolved in a static over the comms. The jungle wasn't empty. It was watching. Aaron collapsed beside a tangle of roots, forcing his trembling hands to steady his weapon. His helmet's HUD flickered with ghostly readings, movement all around, but no heat signatures. They'd taken Sergeant Ramos first. One blink, and he was gone. The rest followed like falling dominoes, one by one. No bodies, no blood, just absence. That was how the hunt began. He tried to comm again. Alpha, 3 to command. Anyone copy? Only static replied, soft and constant, like whispering breath. He swallowed the panic clawing at his throat. The mission had been simple. Survey ruins, retrieve data, return home. But the ruins had been a snare, and the hunters who said it weren't human. The first time Aaron saw them, he didn't understand what he was seeing. Shapes of light that bent the air, reflections that moved independently of the trees. And when they struck, they moved faster than the eye could follow, blades of energy slicing through armor like paper. They didn't kill quickly. They studied, they learned, and they laughed, a sound like broken glass scraping metal. He pushed himself to his feet, forcing motion into stiff legs. The jungle stretched endlessly, mist rising in ribbons. Every sound seemed amplified. The drip of condensation, the crunch of leaves beneath his boots, his own heartbeat hammering like a warning. He needed to reach the extraction beacon. It was the only chance he had. A flicker ahead caught his eye. He froze. Movement, something massive, cloaked in distortion. His finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could aim, a shimmer of blue light erupted beside him, and agony tore through his chest. He fell, weapon clattering into the mud, vision spinning as dark figures emerged from the haze. They were tall, skeletal things, armor fused to their flesh, eyes gleaming like liquid mercury. One leaned close, studying him with clinical fascination. A clawed hand lifted a slender rod that hummed faintly, and a searing light carved a shallow wound across his forearm. Aaron screamed despite himself. The creature tilted its head, almost curious, then murmured something in a melodic, unreadable tone. The others observed, silent and intent. He realized then what this was. Not execution, experiment. They weren't soldiers. They were scientists of suffering. His vision blurred with tears and pain, but through the haze, he saw movement in the shadows beyond them. A silhouette, human-shaped, cloaked in frost and silence. The air grew colder, mist thickening into a spectral veil. The aliens turned sharply, sensing the shift. One step forward, scanning the trees. That was when it happened, a whisper of motion, a glint of steel, and the nearest alien collapsed with a hole clean through its skull. The others reacted instantly, but too slowly. A second fell, spine severed by an unseen blade. The figure emerged at last, draped in tattered white fabric that shimmered with frost. The mask it wore was carved like bone, eyes black as void. It moved with the precision of inevitability. Aaron's breath hitched as he stared up at the stranger who knelt beside him, silent as snowfall. The masked figure glanced at the wound, then at the dead aliens, before finally meeting his gaze. No words were spoken, yet Aaron understood the promise in that stillness. The hunt was not over. It had only changed sides. The alien jungle shimmered with a strange phosphorescence, its tendrils alive with color that shifted like breath. Sergeant Elias Ward pressed his back against the twisted bark of an obsidian tree, the moisture from its surface beating down his gear. His pulse steadied as he scanned the terrain. 3 life forms ahead, faint but moving fast. Human. One of them was screaming. He'd heard that sound before, raw terror wrapped in disbelief. The kind that came when a man realized the rules of nature no longer applied. Elias adjusted the scope of his rifle, its barrel engraved with runes of old wars, and moved through the mist without a sound. They called him the Silent Reaper, a name born from rumor and fear. No one ever heard him approach, only the echo of what he left behind. Ahead, the clearing opened into a circle of alien metal. Figures hovered in the air, armor glinting like liquid mercury. The aliens, tall, thin, eyes like molten silver, stood around a human figure tethered to a crystalline post. The captive's voice cracked as he begged, words dissolving into sobs. The aliens didn't respond. They simply adjusted the mechanisms on their wrists, studying his reaction as beams of light seared shallow burns across his skin. Elias watched, still as death. His breathing slowed to a rhythm learned long ago in colder places. He could have fired 3 clean shots, 3 bodies down, but his instincts whispered patience. Observation first. He needed to know what they were doing, what their patterns meant. There was a logic to cruelty, and he intended to understand it before striking. The lead alien tilted its head, speaking in a harmonic language that made the air vibrate. The human, young, maybe 20, jerked against his restraints, eyes wide with incomprehension. Then the alien raised a slender hand and drove a shard of light through the man's thigh. His scream pierced the jungle canopy, scattering flocks of luminous birds. Elias's grip tightened around his rifle. That was enough. He slipped from cover, every step calculated, every movement swallowed by the damp air. The frost-patterned cloth of his cloak shimmered faintly, blending with the spectral fog. The first alien didn't even turn when the suppressed shot whispered through its skull. The second spun too late, a flash of panic before silence claimed it. The third tried to ascend, but Elias's blade caught its throat mid-motion, severing both voice and life in one fluid motion. When the echoes faded, the jungle exhaled. Elias crouched beside the captive, cutting through the restraints with the edge of his knife. The man collapsed, gasping, eyes darting up at his savior. "Ooh, what are you?" he stammered. Elias didn't answer immediately. His gaze swept the perimeter, listening for movement. "Human," he said finally. "Same as you. Can you walk?" The young man nodded weakly, though his legs trembled. Elias hoisted him upright, steadying him with a gloved hand. The blood on the ground steamed slightly in the alien humidity, a crimson vapor rising like incense. "We have to move," Elias said. "They travel in packs." This wasn't all of them. As they began their retreat through the jungle, the captive looked back at the fallen aliens. "They were playing with me," he muttered, "like I was some kind of experiment." Elias's voice was quiet, almost lost in the sound of rustling leaves. "They call a hunt. You were bait." The man stopped, trembling again. "Bait for what?" Elias looked into the shadows ahead. The temperature dropped perceptibly, mist thickening around them. In the distance, the alien forest pulsed with light, hundreds of signals waking at once. "For me," he said, his tone flat and resigned. The jungle seemed to breathe deeper at his words, as if acknowledging the truth. The hunt had only just begun. Elias led them deeper into the frozen jungle, choosing paths that bent light and swallowed sound. The rescued man limped, but did not complain, gripping a scavenged sidearm with white knuckles. Fear still shook him, yet something harder was forming beneath it, a fragile resolve Elias recognized. Survival did that, stripped a person down and rebuilt them fast. He slowed only once, pressing a finger to his lips as alien signals rippled through the undergrowth like distant thunder. They came quickly after that. Shapes moved between the trees, armored silhouettes sweeping beams across the mist. Elias set the man behind a fallen trunk and vanished. The first hunter died to a snare of wire and gravity, its neck snapping before it understood the ground had betrayed it. The second fired wildly, shrieking into its calms, and Elias answered with a single round through the chest plate, precisely where fear made it breathe fastest. The man watched, horror mixing with awe. This was not chaos. It was method. Elias reappeared beside him long enough to adjust his grip and whisper, "Aim low." They overcorrect. Then he was gone again, a moving absence that turned advanced weapons into dead weight. The jungle filled with the sound of alien panic, sharp and metallic, nothing like courage. More hunters fell. Some never saw him. Others glimpsed the mask an instant before the cold took them. Each kill was deliberate, restrained, almost merciful compared to what the aliens had intended. Elias felt no triumph, only a narrowing focus. The hunt had inverted, and the predators could not accept it. Their discipline collapsed as fear replaced ritual. A heavy unit forced its way into the clearing, shields flaring. It roared a challenge, voice amplified, promising extinction in a language Elias understood too well. He stepped into view openly, rifle lowered, letting it see him clearly. The creature hesitated, confused by the refusal to hide. Elias fired 3 times. Shield joint throat. The unit fell like machinery, finally switched off. Silence returned, broken only by the rescued man's breathing. He stared at Elias, as if trying to memorize him. "You planned this," he said quietly. "You knew they'd come." Elias checked the perimeter, then nodded once. "They always do," he replied. "Cruelty makes patterns." They moved again, faster now. Signals overhead flickered and died as Alien Command lost control of the preserve. Somewhere beyond the trees, something massive shifted, retreating rather than advancing. The man straightened despite his pain, shoulders squaring. "What happens to them?" he asked. Elias paused at the edge of a ridge overlooking frozen valleys littered with failed hunters. "They'll remember," Elias said. Fear sticks. As they descended, the jungle seemed to watch them go, its light dimming, its silence respectful. Behind them lay bodies and broken certainty. Ahead waited extraction and questions that would never be answered fully. Elias felt the familiar weight settle back into his bones, the burden of being what humanity sent when warnings failed. The man followed, no longer prey, not yet soldier, but changed. Above the preserve, alien transmissions fractured into myths and half-truths. One idea survived intact, spreading faster than panic. Humans did not always hunt, but when they did, the universe learned to hide. Elias did not look back. He never did. Behind them, legends were already forming, shaped by fear and loss. Ahead, duty waited without gratitude. He adjusted his cloak, checked his rifle, and walked on, knowing the hunt would end only when humanity no longer needed monsters to survive. Somewhere, alarms echoed, and surviving hunters finally understood what mercy truly cost them all. The jungle burned silver under the twin moons, a metallic sheen spreading where alien blood soaked into the soil. The air hummed with dying energy, faint pulses of light rippling across the fallen bodies. Elias crouched beside the young survivor, checking the charge on his rifle. "They'll come harder now," he murmured. "You still sure you want to live through this?" Aaron nodded weakly, his jaw set despite exhaustion. "You saved me. I'm not dying for them." His voice cracked but steadied on the last word. That defiance drew the faintest flicker of approval in Elias's eyes. There, and gone again. A distant tremor rolled through the ground. The trees vibrated, shedding flakes of bioluminescent dust. Elias glanced toward the horizon, where a storm of light gathered, shapes descending in disciplined formation. "Extraction is gone," he said flatly. "They're sealing the perimeter. No sky left to climb." Aaron looked up at him, confusion replacing fear. "Then what's the plan?" Elias rose, scanning the alien symbols carved into a nearby pillar. "You don't trap hunters without bait," he said. "They think this planet belongs to them. Time to prove them wrong." They moved through the undergrowth in silence, their breath shallow, weapons raised. Elias led with a predator's patience, every motion calculated, while Aaron followed, absorbing each gesture like a soldier in training. The deeper they went, the louder the forest grew. Chirps, howls, the crackle of unseen energy. The jungle wasn't just alive, it was aware. Elias stopped before a vast clearing where ancient alien structures loomed like bones of a forgotten empire. The air shimmered above it, refracting the light into jagged rainbows. Aaron felt pressure behind his eyes, a pulse that synchronized with his heartbeat. "What is this place?" he whispered. "Their crucible," Elias said. "Will they test what's worth keeping?" A chorus of clicks erupted from the shadows as the remaining hunters emerged. Dozens this time, armor reflecting moonlight, weapons drawn. They surrounded the two humans in a tightening ring. The lead alien, its armor adorned with fractal sigils, spoke in that same haunting cadence. The meaning wasn't lost on Elias. He'd learned enough of their language to recognize triumph. Aaron swallowed hard. "We can't fight them all." Elias adjusted the grip on his rifle, his tone calm and almost weary. "You're right." He handed Aaron a small black device, its surface humming with stored energy. "That's your way out. Why tell you run?" Before Aaron could protest, the aliens lunged. The first volley of light seared past, scorching the ground. Elias moved like a phantom, rolling, firing, striking with silent precision. Every shot was a death, every movement a statement of mastery. But for each enemy that fell, two more took its place. Aaron hesitated only once before obeying, sprinting toward the structure with the device clutched in his hand. Elias's voice carried through the chaos, clear and unyielding. "Now!" Aaron dove behind the central spire, pressing the device to its base. The hum grew into a roar as blue fire spiraled upward, devouring the alien architecture in a column of light. The hunters froze, sensing the shift too late. The ground convulsed. Energy cascaded outward like a tidal wave, consuming everything not human. Aaron shielded his eyes, the heat washing over him. When he looked again, the clearing was ash and silence. At its center stood Elias, his cloak torn, mask cracked, the frost that once clung to him now fading into mist. "You said you were human," Aaron whispered. Elias regarded him for a long moment, the shadow of a grim smile touching his lips. "Once," he said, "before they made me their weapon." He turned toward the burning horizon. "Now, I finished the hunt." As dawn bled across the alien sky, Aaron watched the silent reaper vanish into the light, carrying vengeance like a prayer into the ruins of another world.